Can you please explain a plan that will enable you to achieve your campaign promises?
One thing, I'm not a political person. I think that this election isn't really about making things that stir up people's emotions and gets people to vote because they're excited and passionate about a single issue. I've never run on that idea because I think a lot of those issues that people address in that sense are taken out of context. And also a lot of them are unrealistic. We've talked about the idea that no increase in tuition, that's just not realistic. Or the idea that student fees won't be spent on athletics, that's not realistic. But what is realistic is working to make sure that the increases are minimized and that spending within the university is looked at from a standpoint where the students are involved in the process. And I think that that's where I stand. And I think the biggest thing that I've been focusing on is making sure that GPSA, once again, isn't used as a political platform for people with small and narrow personal agendas, but it's used as an organization that's respected within the entire university, students, staff, faculty, administration, outside of the community, and throughout the entire state. And I think that that's what's vital, and I think that that's what's been missing with GPSA in the last year. And honestly, since I've been involved in this university over 7 years ago. And that's what I stand by, and I stand by that, and I feel like GPSA has the opportunity to be a voice for all students. And I think that that's what this election is about. And I feel like my ideas with fiscal responsibility, I specifically had direct oversight of an $800,000 budget that included all student fees, and I implemented specific measures to make sure that those fees were reviewed, and they were reviewed in a systematic way that was fair and balanced. And I feel like I'd like to bring that to GPSA, and I feel that I know the importance of council, and I know that council is a representative voice of the university for graduate and professional students. And my idea of allowing the GPSA council a stronger voice within the organization is absolutely vital. GPSA should not be about the president. It should not be about the executive branch. It should be about an organization. And I think it's absolutely 100% vital to have a president in the position that allows the GPSA to have or the GPSA council to have a voice, not just to the president, but for the university as a whole. And I promise that as a president, I would never influence the council in a way that would be inappropriate in any manner, and I would work constructively with the council to ensure that the voice of all students are represented. Because I think that we all have these ideas about graduate research and ensuring that costs are limited and making sure that we hold the administration accountable. But I think that it must start within the organization of GPSA itself. And that's my focus, to make sure that this organization is strong and make sure that it stays strong after I'm gone.
All right. Katie.
So I want to focus on three sort of ideas that I hope to accomplish for graduate and professional students in the coming year. The first is that I promise to fight increases in tuition and fees. I don't think that it's unrealistic to say that you'll fight these increases. And furthermore, I don't think that graduate and professional students want a president who's going to walk into the room already having negotiated away the discussion. You don't walk in saying, I grant you that we have to increase tuition and fees. I think that, in fact, what we need to do for tuition and fees is continue education, the Board of Regents all the way down to the students, about the burden that students take when we are trying to pursue higher education. I think that nationally there's a major problem with student debt, and I'm concerned that we're going to basically have a student debt bubble. A third of students graduating within 10 years end up defaulting on their student loan debt. And I think that, to fight increases in tuition and fees, you have to work both within the structure and outside of it. I think within the structure we need to make sure that graduate students have a voice on all of the boards that make these funding decisions. And outside of it, I think that we need to make sure that our networks and coalitions are ready. So that, for example, today at the Budget Summit, there was a group of graduate employees who were protesting the signs in the background. And that makes an impression on the Board of Regents, and I'm very pleased that they did that. Another thing that I hope to accomplish in the coming year is to make sure that GPSA is inclusive. I think that it will be an easy thing to hold meetings around campus. You can hold meetings in the ethnic centers, you can hold meetings in the law school, and that way GPSA's visibility and accessibility is increased across campus. And I also want to make sure that there are balanced voices around the table, and that the governance of graduate and professional students is shared among many people of diverse backgrounds, diverse ethnic and racial groups, diverse departments and schools. I absolutely promise that the law school will be represented in the GPSA government. Being the second largest constituent of graduate and professional students of any school. And I'm happy to hold campus-wide interviews for positions on the executive board if I were to be elected GPSA president. The last thing I want to focus on is exactly how I'm going to make this GPSA more accessible. One major concern that I hear over and over again is exactly how bad the website is. I think that the website can look like a professional UNM website where people can find the information that they're looking for and know that they have access to their government. I will continue video recording meetings and making those available. The other thing is that, I've served for the past 2 years as the GPSA grants chair, and I've had constant contact with my constituents, my grant readers and my grant applicants. And I make myself available and return emails quickly. My phone number is out and available during this campaign, and it will continue to be so when and if I'm elected. So thank you very much. That's how I intend to fulfill my campaign promises.
Patricia?
Well, as I've said throughout the campaign, this campaign is not about me. It's about you and I. It's about all of us coming together as a team and putting the processes and the mechanisms in place for us to be able to improve the relationships, the communication, but more importantly, to develop the common agendas. It's not going to be my agenda. I'm not going to be imposing my ideas, my thoughts on anyone. I think that the important point here is that I'm a process person. I'm all about putting into place the best ways for us to be able to come together. So if that means that we have to have a transition team, we'll put a transition team together. If it means putting together and instituting a joint commission, then we'll put the joint commission together. Whatever it takes to put the mechanisms in place to improve the communication, to be able to come up together and develop a common agenda with specific priorities that we're going to go after for this particular school year, and then a plan to execute. That's what's really important. We have to have a plan in place. We've all been talking about a student voice and a place at the table. For me, it's all about having decision-making power. That's what we have missed in all of this crisis that we've been faced with, the endless hours that we spend, is that we're not empowered. We as students we have a place and we have a voice. We're sitting at the table and we're expressing our voice. But what we're lacking is that we have no way to impact the decisions that are being made because we don't have, when we're sitting on those committees, the power of the vote. And I think that we need to start institutionalizing those structures that will guarantee that vote and that decision at that table. We get overpowered and we get outnumbered and our interests get hidden and sidelined when we don't have that position. And I think that instituting the process, this is where my experience and my expertise comes in, the many years that I've spent in pulling coalitions together, the many years that I've been able to sit down and work out agreements, compromises, negotiations, instituting the policy which are still in place, policies, legislation, rules and regulations that I was instrumental in are still in place in all of the areas that I've been participating in. This is the leadership that I bring. This is my style. I'm a facilitator. I will facilitate the change that is necessary in order to be able to institutionalize the student's voice in the decision-making capacity on campus. But it takes everyone together, and I know how to pull everyone together. Thank you.
All right. Jacob.
Thank you. I think that it's important to note that a lot of these questions are about leadership. And I agree with Patricia, a fundamental character of a good leader in this organization has to be one who's going to reach across aisles and bring together the council and the president, the law school, the medical school, and all the important constituencies on this campus to address our common challenges. But I've disagreed with her in our past debates, and I'll disagree with her again today. I think that when you elect a president, you have to elect someone who has ideas and has a vision for this institution. And I'll share with you now the three main areas of my vision for this organization. One is that we need to push collectively for an open and transparent budget process. You cannot have cooperation and meaningful discussion when students are kept out of the loop when it comes to making the decisions that really matter at this university. As such, I've called upon the university already to place student voices on the Regents Budget Committee. This is the committee that over the course of the year actually crafts the operating budget for this institution. Because at today's budget summit, what happened? We all came and were given a 300-page binder and said, there's the budget, vote on it. That's not a process, that's not collaboration, and that's not how you actually influence decision-making. I've also called upon the university to increase its commitment to accessible and comprehensive financial reports publishable on the university website so we all know what's going on with university finances. Lastly, I'm going to call upon the university to critically evaluate the cross-subsidies that exist that direct instructional money to athletics, to the Alumni Association, and to the University Foundation. I don't think you can get rid of them, but I think that it can be an open and transparent process that we can all collectively get to a place that that level of cross-subsidization is something that we're all okay with and understand actually what's going on. Secondly, and this is where I really bring something unique to the table, many of these issues that we're talking about will require us to take steps to reform higher education in New Mexico at the whole. That's why I've already called upon the Legislative Education Study Committee in Santa Fe to take on the question of tuition and graduate research on their interim work plan to begin raising these critical questions. Because if we don't start talking about research and tuition and fees at the state level, we're never going to solve the problem. And lastly, I've tried to bring attention to this notion of making graduate school pay. This university must start looking into the reasons why graduate students here have more debt than anyone else in the country. I've also put forward a series of legislative proposals to help make this problem better, and the prime one of those is joining 10 other states as well as Europe and Canada in making graduate stipends tax exempt from state income tax. I think that this is a platform that is well articulated and gives you a notion of the action steps that I will take as a leader. Thank you.
Any rebuttals? Okay.
I just wanted to say to Jacob that the UNM Foundation is actually the proposal that was put before the Board of Regents today by the Cost Containment Committee, proposed entirely cutting the $1.2 million construction and general subsidy to the foundation. I think that's an absolutely fantastic thing. I hope it happens. I just wanted to make you aware that that's in fact not possible. It happened, and not impossible. It happened today. Furthermore, there is a plan, and I'm not sure if it will be enacted, that over the next 2 or 3 years, that the money from the auxiliaries, which is currently replacing that ING money to the foundation, will be drawn down till, in fact, the foundation is completely self-sustaining. So I think that the foundation, alumni relations, athletics, the South Golf courses, these are examples of currently areas of the university that are in deficit that we subsidize. And we don't have to do it. And we're beginning to make the right steps to take these areas and say you must be self-sufficient. And that's what's happened with the foundation today.
No, I mean, I was aware that the university is proposing that action, and I congratulate the university. For all of those of you who don't know, this state gives a block grant to its universities, and that's meant to fund research, classroom teaching, and student services. And this university has traditionally diverted some of that money over to athletics, to the foundation, and to the Alumni Association. I think that it is great that we've shed some light on that issue. The report that we wrote in 2009 was the first public document to ever publicly produce that information for the university community, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that that has now turned into some real action. I think that moving forward, we need to continue that effort and start looking at the other areas of cross-subsidization as well.